This is College Football 26 Dynasty, but it starts when I get fired. So I'm Clark Lea and I've fallen on hard times. I've coached for 4 years at Vanderbilt and they finally got sick of me after back-to-back 2-10 seasons that I was fired. So I need to rebuild my career and get back to the SEC. That's the only thing on my mind, to stick it to Vanderbilt. We have a couple options here as far as head coaching, either Air Force or Charlotte. This is the first week. I think to be safe, I'm going to take the Air Force job and try to rebuild my career in the Colorado mountains. Now, for me, the only things that I can do is work through the transfer portal, advance myself, my coaching level and my coaching abilities, and make any changes to scheduling or something like that to get the wins. But I cannot do any in-season recruiting, and I cannot do any kind of jumping into games or anything like that to try to get wins. I have to just work naturally. I will do auto recruiting during the season, and then I'll jump into the transfer portal at the end of the season to try to get some kind of advancement in my coaching career so I can get back to a head coaching job in the SEC. So I have 1 year at Air Force on my contract, and if I lose this season and don't get an extension or find a new job, I'm most likely back to the offensive coordinator ranks at best. So I'm going to start by offering Major Applewhite to see if we can get a little bit of his East Texas pipeline into our coaching tree. And then we're going to go for the defensive coordinator. On this side, we're going to go... I think the best option here is to kind of double down on Texas. We're going to go for this Corbin Jamison guy and try to get our Texas pipeline going so we can really hit the transfer portal and try to get as many players into Air Force as possible. I don't think the Air Force actually uses the transfer portal, but we're going to use it in this sim. Okay, we were able to get Corbin Jamison. It looks like Applewhite probably turned down our offer. Yeah, he didn't want to come to Colorado Springs. So we need someone. We were really going for that Texas pipeline, but we're not going to be able to get that. So I guess the next best thing we'll go with Northern California. Maybe that'll help us here. Jarek Tubbs. We're going to go with two guys that were coming directly from the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator ranks. So let's see. Okay, so we got Tubbs. Our staff is set for our 1 year run at Air Force. Now we need to go and actually upgrade Clark Lea. We've built up these upgrades over the past 4 seasons. We really need to hit the recruiting ranks here. So we need a quarterback. That is going to be where we're going first with this. We're going to go all the way up on the quarterback ranks, and then we're going to hit a little bit of the offensive line there because we really just need to get somebody in that's going to help us win games in the first season. We really need to get to a bowl game in our first year at Air Force. So let's take a look at what our players leaving are looking like. Yeah, we're going to lose a lot of them because I think Clark Lea is a D+ right now. So first things first, let's see if we can try to convince this guy. I don't know, he's not coming back. Let's see if we can try to convince some of these better players. No. Okay, and those were our only 2 persuasions. Okay, so we don't keep anybody from players leaving. We're losing basically all of our team here. So it's going to be a rough build here to try to get something happening in the first season. So our quarterback isn't terrible. Maybe I should have looked at that before we went into it. But we're losing McFall here. So we're going to be kind of short at halfback. Definitely need some wideouts. Probably need to rebuild this offensive line because both of those guys are out. Yeah, we got to definitely rebuild the offensive line quite a bit here because it's rough. All right, so let's focus on offensive line and wideout and go from there. All right, so we had a little bit of success in the transfer portal. These are all the signings. We've got quite a few 3 stars. We had some success on the defensive side, bringing some players back from the offensive line from last season, as well as bringing some players over from Vanderbilt into Air Force here. So we got quite a few 3 stars. better recruits than we had during the regular season. So this should definitely help out here. There were quite a few quarterbacks that wanted to come in, but we decided to pass them up to use our time more wisely because, as you can imagine, this is one of the best players from last season that we're able to bring back. As you can imagine, there was not that much time for us to use. So hopefully we can get some improvements. These right tackles that we got were just some of the best offensive linemen that were interested in us, so we'll move them around. We missed out on a couple 3-stars, but for the most part, I would say we had a lot of success in the transfer portal. Will it show us where we were at in the top classes in the country? Where are we here? Let's actually do this. We're in the top 100. That's all we care about. Yeah, we're in the top 100. 61. Okay, so going from a 3-9 team in the Mountain West to the 61st recruiting class, and for transfers, probably even better. Let's see how far we were up in the transfer class. Yeah, top 20 transfer class. So that is definitely a step in the right direction. So we're going to do a few position changes. Dash Beerley is going to be our quarterback. Hopefully he can take a big jump here. We didn't go after any halfbacks. We're just going to have to be good enough, but we did get a few wide receivers here. These are the two that we were able to bring in at the top of our class, so they should be good for us, especially this guy could be up to an 80+ when we get him in. This guy we also brought in, I believe. Okay, so we have quite a few right tackles, which is really where we're going to have to distribute this. So he was our starting right tackle last season. Let's take Hag, see if he can go over to left guard. It won't let me move him. Why won't it let me move him? Can I move this guy? Is it just that we don't have enough players to be able to even move them on the offensive line? If so, that is really rough. Okay, what about this guy? This guy we can move over to right tackle. Yes. Then does that allow us to move these right tackles? Okay, there's the trick. All right, so 73, if we put him at left tackle, I think Jocelyn is going to be the one. 76, he's better at guard. I think we'll put him at left guard and we'll put the other guy at left tackle just because we need all the help we can get here. So he goes to left guard. We move one of these right guards over to right tackle. Okay, and then we're going to put this Hag guy over at left tackle. Okay, so that at least improves our offensive line a little bit. Should be able to get some passes off. Right guard is really our weakness here. Does this guy improve our right guard's position? It does. Okay, so we're going to move him over. Now we have all 70s, at least before stat improvements on our offensive line. Edge, we're going to move this guy to the other side. We're really putting the pieces together here because this is not a good team at all. Defensive tackle is not terrible. We've got a pretty good starter there. We did bring in a Mike, I thought. No, okay. We at least have good corners. All right, they're going to be able to throw the ball over us. We did not get a kicker, so who's going to kick for us? We're probably going to be going for 2 a lot, but at least we have an offensive line and a quarterback that we can trust and some wide receivers that might be pretty good. Okay, now we're starting to see the dividends here. So we have an 87 tight end. We have some players that we can throw the ball at least. Our offensive line has improved quite a bit. Quarterback didn't improve at all, which is disappointing. But we have an 80 running back, a couple 80 wide receivers. Okay, so we have some players that we can throw the ball. We have a pretty solid offensive line for the Mountain West. We got some 80s across there. We've got some improvements on our edges. The linebackers are somewhat respectable now. Okay, so this we can live with this. We can get some wins. What is our contract looking like? What do we need to do to keep this job? They are goal 4 games. Okay, so if we can win 4 games, we can keep this job into the next season. If we can get to a bowl game, we can probably get a better job next season. Okay, we have 63 players on our roster, and we need to figure out how to win 4 games. So, of course, we're going to play Army and Navy. Hopefully, we can get some wins there as they were pretty terrible. Well, Army was not bad last season. Navy was pretty terrible. I don't know that I love these two games. Arizona, I think we'll keep on, but we're going to get rid of this UCF game, and we're going to give ourselves a free win here. We need to get going with an opening victory there. We have a tough Mountain West schedule, and we end with Colorado State. So we need to get an opening victory there. We'll put the FCS team in so we can get that opening victory, hopefully get us to that 4 wins, and at the very least, 6 wins would be the best to move on. But we have auto recruiting back on. We're actually going to sim to week 6, see where we're at that point, and hopefully we are on the way to getting to a bowl game. And we're off to an amazing start to the season. Working in the transfer portal always gets you going. 4-1 so far going into the Navy game. Let's look at how we did. I know that FCS game got us off on the right foot. We've got a couple wins in conference. We lost to Utah State, which sucks because that puts us in the last column in conference, but we got a Power 4 victory over Arizona. This is a really good start to the season. If we can get a win against Navy here, we really just need 2 more wins for the rest of the season, and we've reached our goal of getting to a bowl game in the first season at Air Force. Oof. Okay, we are at the Army game, and we've lost 5 straight games. We started with that loss to Utah State, couldn't quite get over the Navy game, close games in the first 3 losses, and then kind of been blowouts in the last 2. So we need 2 out of 3 victories. All the first 2 teams that we're playing are over 500 currently. Army is a rivalry game. We have them at home. Maybe that'll help us out here. But we've got 2 straight games on the road in Mountain West competition to try to get us to that bowl game. At the very least, we've accomplished our goal as of our contract, which is to get 4 wins this season. We've improved on last season, so that's good. But we need 2 victories to get our personal goal of 6 wins and getting to a bowl game. And we're going to have to figure them out in these last 3 games. We get a huge win over Army by 9 points in Colorado Springs, puts us to 5-5. We now just need 1 victory either on the road at Fresno State or in the final game of the season on the road at Colorado State in the, I don't know what that trophy is, but in a rivalry game at the end of the season. If we can get one of those 2 wins, we've accomplished our goal and we'll be in a bowl game in the first season at Air Force. Vandy wanted to put it all on me. They wanted to blame little old Clark Lea for the fact that Vandy couldn't win games. But look at me now, 7-5 with the Air Force Falcons. Win the final 2 games of the season. We're in a bowl game in the first season in Colorado Springs. So the ASU quarterback wins the Heisman, but where are we going to our bowl game? We're going to go to the Holiday Bowl in San Diego and face off against top 20 SMU. This would be a massive upset and set us on the right path for it next season. But we, of course, have to look at these job offers. I very well may stay at Air Force depending on what we get offered here. Navy, they want us back as a D coordinator at Vanderbilt, or we can go over to Virginia. Virginia is an interesting offer, but they were 2-10 last season. We're not their top pick. And we're probably going to be coming into a rough situation where we're going to have to start by recruiting a bunch of players back. We don't want to go to Navy. They're 2-10 as well. Vandy is 3-9 this season, so they got 1 more victory than they had with me last season. I don't think that I want to take any of those jobs quite yet. I think that the Virginia job is interesting, but let's see what happens in this bowl game. If we get a win, I might end up staying, depending on what offers we get next week. They said it couldn't be done. They were 3 wins last season. We're breaking single-season records. And we're winning bowl games, ladies and gentlemen. The Holiday Bowl winner, the Air Force Falcons, 8-5 in the first season at Air Force. Clark Lea has turned this program around. What does the rest of the country think? Okay, there's some real jobs here. Oh, shit. Okay. I had not considered the idea of potentially going for a defensive coordinator job at Georgia to then potentially jump into a coaching job the following season. Defensive coordinator at Tulane is not great. Arkansas State as a head coach might be more interesting. They were 12-2. We were able to rebuild Air Force through the transfer portal. Will we be able to do the same thing with Arkansas State? What's the correct choice here? I don't think I want to go. I wanted to stay head coach the whole time. You know that these two are drawing me to them, but they were both 8-4 last season. Tulane is the only ranked team that's here. But I really like the idea of going to Arkansas State and then potentially jumping to Arkansas or somewhere else in the final season, or at least to get back. We're going to end it when I get the job back in the SEC. I think we're going to go to Arkansas State, see if that can leap us into the SEC the following season. Yeah, we're going to Arkansas State after taking Air Force from 3-9 to 8-5 in just one season. I think we're going to go after Bryant Vincent, try to get that Louisiana pipeline to rebuild the offense. I think we're going to take a similar strategy to what we did this year, where we're rebuilding the offensive line and quarterback depending on what's going on. I don't care about getting two coaches from Kansas. Nobody really wants those Kansas coaches. That might tell you something, but we want some of these southern pipelines. We'll go after Tevin at Trinidad for the Alabama pipeline. I think Clark Lea is Tennessee, so we should be able to recruit the South pretty well if we get all three of these guys. Okay, we got Vincent, which is good because he's the highest level of all three of the coaches, including Clark Lea, and we were able to get the coordinator Trinidad as well. So we got both offensive and defensive coordinators that we were looking for. Now let's go to the transfer portal and see if we can get these Red Wolves to the college football playoff. So they're coming off of a Sun Belt Conference Championship. So we really need to get back to the Sun Belt Conference Championship and see if we can relay that into a college football playoff berth. It looks like the Conference USA is getting a little bit of favored treatment for getting into the college football playoff from the G5. Mountain West also is one of the ones that we'll have to fight. And the American, I think we saw that Tulane got in there as well. So we are by far in the worst, maybe the MAC is worse, but we're in one of the two worst conferences in the country. So even an 11-2 season didn't get them into the playoff. We need to go undefeated most likely to get into the CFP. We'll be doing that with a new quarterback, as most likely Rashad Durant will be our starter depending on what we can find in the transfer portal. Yeah, we're going to have to do some work in the transfer portal on the offensive side of the ball. A lot of graduating seniors at the top of the depth chart. So we're really going to have to do some work kind of across the offensive line. Okay, we could potentially keep some of these offensive linemen. There's a lot of recruiting that we're going to need to do to keep this team together. But I think maybe the defense is a little younger. Maybe we're not going to lose some of these guys. Okay. We see the challenge ahead of us. We need to get this team back to where they were last season. And our goal is just to make a bowl game, which we can definitely do that. I think we need to shoot a little bit higher than that. We need to be looking at this 10-4, 12-2 to really not just improve Arkansas State, but potentially get our SEC job after this season. All right, so we were at least able to get our number one guy in the portal here. Let's see who else we got. This is the final week. So we're able to get two of our top guys on defense, quite a few 3-stars. We were in recruiting battles that we were definitely not in last season. Like we lost a guy to Penn State. We lost a guy to Iowa State, a couple more power programs. This guy was cut off. He cut us off in the last week. We're able to still get him in as a quarterback. We'll see if he improves on what we currently have in, but still getting some depth at quarterback was definitely needed as well. Quite a few 3-stars on the offensive line, which is good. Yes, this was a good signing at halfback. We had 2 halfbacks we wanted to get. We ended up with both of them. Wide receiver is something that I haven't seen a lot of sign. We got our edges that we wanted, which is very good. Prioritize those. We ended up getting a kicker in, unlike last season, but I don't think that we signed any of the wide receivers we were interested in, which is maybe not great because we weren't very good at wide receiver before the transfer portal. Let's just take a look at if we were able to have classes that were better than last season. Overall, Arkansas State, almost a top 50 class overall with only 21 signings. Very good. We were heavy on the 3-stars. Transfers, we have to be in the top 20 this year. Just outside the top 20, 21. Okay, so very similar to last season. We were able to do a good amount of work in the transfer portal, but I do think that we are going to have another smaller roster like last year, NFL-sized roster for lack of a better term. Okay, so the kicker that we got was really good. That's good. We have good special teams. Okay, so we'll see who improves the most here, but we were able to get a quality quarterback, and we definitely improved at halfback with the 2 halfbacks that we brought in. Wide receiver is weak, so let's see if we can convert somebody here. This guy has 98 speed. Okay, so we want him at halfback. Is there anybody else that we can convert to wide receiver that will be helpful? Okay, this guy's going to go and be our number 1 wide receiver. Very good signing, I guess, because we swung and a miss on all of our wide receiver targets. We'll see about that guy. Let's see what our tight ends are looking like. Okay, so we have our number 1 receiver who's a converted running back. Childress was the one that we signed. Can we get any of these guys to go to wide receiver and be better? No, we cannot. Okay. This guy has speed and stuff, so maybe he will convert a little bit better. He would convert to a... Okay. All right, so not great there. Offensive line. I think we went a little heavy on... Oh, damn. I thought we got good offensive linemen, but apparently not. Damn. So kind of not the recipe that we had from last season. We do improve on defense, though, bringing in the edges. We have a good D tackle to lead us there. Our linebackers are good, or at least we have 2 good linebackers. Our corners, we got a good corner in. All right, and then we got a good free safety, and our strong safety is weak. We got good players. So do we have okay, so what's this guy going to convert into? Damn, kind of useless to us. All right, we'll put him at tight end, I guess. And then we're going to go back over here. Okay, maybe let's look at these quarterbacks. Can this guy become a wide receiver? He could become a running back. And we could convert this guy into a wide receiver. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to have to do. Let's see who's better at running back between the 2 quarterbacks. Damn. That's not going to be this guy. Okay. And he becomes a better running back than he is a quarterback. So that's how we're going to try to solve this. But our offensive line sucks, so this might not be great here as we have ambitions of winning the Sun Belt. Okay, so we're getting somewhat respectable on the back end of the defense. I think we're going to have to look at that strong safety position. But our quarterback's pretty good. The converted quarterbacks, kind of the movements that we made around, end up being pretty good. I'm hoping that this guy actually balls out at wide receiver this first season. It'll be interesting to see. And then we have good kind of playmakers. Our offensive line is in the low 70s across the board, so not great, but improvements at least. We'll see if we can pull it together. We did get an upgrade for coach abilities, so we're going to try to focus that on maybe impacting the play on the field more so than the recruiting, and hopefully we can make that happen this season. So we boosted our offensive line. I think that's the best thing that we can do, and if we get another improvement, we're going to keep focusing on boosting the offensive line so our skill position players that we have, pretty good skill position players, can at least get the ball. Okay, so we're not going to make any changes to the schedule here. We get that early FCS game, which is definitely helpful. Hopefully we can get revenge against Utah State as they beat us last year when we were at Air Force. And then this is the big game here at Georgia Tech. If we can get that win, we very well may be on the way to making it to the CFP. We really just need to make sure that we compete in all of the games that we have in the Sun Belt. Only 1 loss in the Sun Belt last season. Let's see if we can avenge that and go undefeated this year with this cobbled together team that we have. But we're going to sim through to week 6. Kind of see what we did in the non-conference before we open up the conference slate. Not the start that we were hoping for. We could live with this loss at Georgia Tech, but the loss on the road to Utah State was not great. Maybe we should have scheduled that at home, got one of those bigger non-conference games at home. We did get the win against UConn, which maybe makes up for that a little bit, but a 2-2 start is not great. However, we still have ambitions to win the Sun Belt. It's all to play for as we've got 8 games remaining this season. Can we go 10-2 and find our way at least in the conversation for the top 25 and maybe in the conversation for the CFP. Not a great start to the conference season either, as we lose 2 straight games by 2 points each to Texas State on the road and Louisiana on the road. We have had a tough schedule as far as roads are or home and away is concerned. I don't know where we are in the conference, but it can't be great. Okay, so we're not in a terrible spot, except for Louisiana is 5-0 in the conference. Do we play Louisiana this week? No, we play Monroe this week. Do we have a game against Louisiana left? No, we just lost to them. Okay, so we just lost them on the road by 2. So that makes it a little bit difficult. But I think there is still a path for us to get into the championship game for the Sun Belt. It starts this week, though. We definitely need to beat Monroe and get back to 500 in the conference. Okay, so we have definitely lost out on making the conference championship game, but we did accomplish what we needed to do this season, which was to get to a bowl game. Now, it's going to take a little bit of rebuilding. I think we're probably going to try to stay at Arkansas State this season unless we get the SEC job that will end the video. But we have our final game against Georgia State, I believe, and no, Coastal Carolina. This could get us a 7-5 season and hopefully give us some kind of national notoriety depending on the bowl game that we get into, but definitely not as successful this season as we were at Air Force, probably because we didn't have as much success recruiting the offensive line as we did last year. But let's see what happens, see where we end up in our bowl game. Okay, the QB from Clemson is the one that ends up winning the Heisman. Let's see where we go. We did end up getting the win against Coastal Carolina, so we get a rematch against Georgia Tech in the Gasparilla Bowl. We lost to Georgia Tech in the second or third game of the season on the road, kind of by like 25 or something like that. We get a chance to take them down in the Gasparilla Bowl after kind of going through the growth of the season and having success during our Sun Belt season and maybe wrapping up this season pretty well. Okay, we do have a chance to get back to the SEC, though. And this is where the video will end. We get a chance to go to Kentucky, get back in the SEC. It only took 2 seasons to get back there. Kentucky, is it better or is it worse than Vanderbilt? You be the judge. Currently, it's worse than Vanderbilt, but mind you, we'd had 4-8, 2-10, and 2-10 as our final 3 seasons at Vanderbilt. So maybe this is an improvement overall, getting to Kentucky, but can we win this bowl game against Georgia Tech and make it all worth it? We fall just short, 28-26 in the Gasparilla Bowl, of avenging our major loss at the beginning of the season. Made a little bit of a run at the end of the game, but we could not pull it all together when it all came down to we were causing turnovers, won the turnover battle, did what we needed to do to get the upset. Where did we fall short? 44% completion, not good enough in an upset bid like we had. Got sacked 4 times. We knew that the offensive line was going to be our Achilles heel, and it comes back to bite us in the final game of the season. However, we accomplished the goal in 2 seasons of getting back to the SEC after being fired from Vanderbilt. And let me know if you like this kind of video, if we should do one of these again, maybe with a different job and a different coach trying to get back to where they were after they're fired.